What's going on, Internet? I'm Christopher Peterson, and you're listening to the Nerd EXP Gamecast. This week I'm hanging out with Brooks.
Hey.
And that's about it. What are we doing here? We're going through this week's top gaming headlines to help you level up your gaming IQ. If this is your first time, thanks for tuning in. If you're coming back, we appreciate it. As always, readers come first, listeners come first. So I'm going to jump to a question we got from Rich over on the MyIGN boards. He asks, would going back to the origins be best for franchises such as Resident Evil and Assassin's Creed? Amazing franchises that I feel are losing quality. Should they do a complete change? I would say that this is kind of a leading question, but I think that the reboot is good for franchises. We see it in movies. I definitely see it in comic books. I sometimes think that games are a little bit more hesitant to go this route, but I think that it can be beneficial. Like we saw Tomb Raider reboot a couple years ago, and it was definitely for the best. That was the best Tomb Raider game that I ever played. So I think losing all the story and baggage works out in their favor.
I think it's a great idea as well. As far as Resident Evil or Biohazard or whatever you guys like to call it, I think that's a series that seriously is in need of a reboot, big time. I mean, it's totally convoluted. It's all over the place. I need to start from scratch.
Yeah, I think people have been asking him for that a lot. They want it to go back to its horror, tank controls, and lose the action, and not just go back from a story perspective, but even just kind of go back to its roots and mechanics.
Quite a few series need to do that. As far as Assassin's Creed, the problem with that series is they need to take it somewhere other than where we're used to seeing like Europe and places like that. Let's go someplace like Japan or Imperial China or someplace like that. Or how about taking it into the future or something?
Yeah, for me, Assassin's Creed at this point has become so convoluted with its present day story that it's complete garbage and fan fiction that they should just go the Assassin's Creed Liberation route and just, hey, you're in the Animus, you know you're in the Animus, and you're playing as an ancestor. And not even, bother with all this hoopla of, what's going on with the gods and who's inhabiting who or what crazy doomsday scenario they have equipped.
That sounds a lot better, actually.
One game that I think, and maybe I'll get chastised for this, I think Metal Gear Solid, especially with the behind the scenes and Kojima leaving, needs a reboot.
Yeah. You won't get any disagreement from me. That definitely needs a reboot. There's a whole lot of stories to be told there, and Snake had his run, but it's time to retire the old boy.
And I'd even be okay with Snake being there again, but maybe we wouldn't have Liquid Snake and Big Boss and all these shenanigans. You could still have the same character, but just a different supporting cast.
Yeah, just take it back a while.
Well, thank you, Rich. Definitely appreciate your question. If you're out there listening and want to have something else that you think that we should talk about, please hit us up on IGN or Twitter or email us at nerdexp@gmail.com. Going into the news this week, and as I was putting this together, kind of a light news. Lots of rumors, lots of speculation. I kind of avoided that until anything's really confirmed. I don't want to say oh, this is the story from Mass Effect. 3 months later, no, this is. 6 months later, no, this is. So, once something more concrete comes out, we'll talk about it. I guess this is just kind of the standard pre-E3 drought before we get just completely swamped and inundated with constant news. But first thing, Square Enix says that there are unannounced games that will come out this year for the PlayStation 4. That's a cool sentiment. I'm sure fans have been happy. I myself have been saying that we need more JRPGs on the PlayStation, and that's something Square is famous for. I don't anticipate this being unannounced $60 retail giant games. I think this will be smaller, downloadable titles, kind of more in the vein of indie, which I'm perfectly fine with. And I think that's actually what I play more time wise, even than the AAA releases at this point. But I think just my wild speculation to set expectations is I think that we're looking at a smaller title instead of a Final Fantasy 15 or Kingdom Hearts 3 or anything crazy like that.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Probably some indie titles or maybe a HD remake or two. There's no way they got any of these other major games ready already now. It can't be.
Yeah, I mean, HD Remake's a great idea. I mean, we've seen them do this with Final Fantasy 3 and 4, I want to say, went to the DS and got a huge facelift. And then 10 and 10-2 just came out to all the PlayStation consoles. So that's definitely within their wheelhouse to kind of revitalize a franchise.
Go with 12. 12 was a good game.
You think? I don't hate 12. Like, I feel like there's a lot of I feel like a lot of the hatred for 13 is spilled over on 12. But I will say I was kind of bored when I played 12. Like, its story was just kind of ho hum in there, and most of the characters felt flat except for Balthazar.
Balthier, yeah, that was my boy. He was supposed to be the original main character, to tell you the truth. And they decided to go with Vaughn because the Tokyo teens probably wouldn't be able to relate to Balthier. He was too manly.
Yeah, I feel like Balthier is definitely the main character of that story. And it's not the first time that Square's done that. Final Fantasy X, Titus is the point of view character, but Yuna is the one driving the story and the conflict and the plot really. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like games, yeah, maybe some books, but I feel like games is an interesting medium in the sense that your point of view character is not always the most important character in that world.
Yeah.
You never really see that with a movie or a TV show. But anyway, we'll see what Square Enix has up their sleeve. Kind of future, super future release. It's confirmed, so it's not a rumor. But Marvel and Telltale are gonna cooperate. I know how to speak English. With a release in 2017.
Ew. Now, what kind of gameplay are we expecting? Because Telltale games, we already know what to expect as far as that. But I'm wondering how is that going to play with a Marvel title, though? You're talking action heroes. This isn't something like The Walking Dead, I mean, like, you got people with superpowers that can fly and teleport and use super strength and some everything else. I mean, how is that already going to do this?
I was thinking about this. I mean, Marvel has a lot of street level characters.
True.
So, I mean, they could go Daredevil, Luke Cage, Moon Knight, and not necessarily, Thor, Hulk route. I honestly think that, there's some speculation and people trying to guess. I think you're going to play as a no-name.
You would almost have to, but then that's going to be a tougher sell because a lot of people know what certain characters. Daredevil might work because of the Netflix series, but that might be a bit tougher sell to people who don't really it might work. The comic fans and gamers, it might just work. With the Marvel brand, they might want to check it out, but it would probably make more sense with a more known character.
Yeah, I think if I imagine that this will be Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. the video game. That not necessarily that's what it's called.
Okay.
But like the TV show is a bunch of no-name characters that have special guest appearances from some of the recognizable characters.
That I can see.
So I think that you'll play either a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent or maybe a mutant who just discovered their powers or somebody who just recently got their powers. And, maybe Spidey will come in for an episode, and then Captain America will come in for an episode, and, you'll kind of work alongside these big marquee heroes as opposed to playing as them.
Okay, now that I can see. As a shield, yeah, that I can see. That could work.
I mean, like, kind of like Game of Thrones. You're not playing as the main characters, but you are playing in the house that's interacting with them.
Okay, yeah, that I can see.
I love both these companies. I enjoy every Telltale game that I've played so far. I haven't played Game of Thrones yet.
No, I haven't either.
I'm waiting for the full season on that one. We'll see how that goes. this announcement is way too early.
Yeah.
Especially the way Telltale games come out. Episodic, slowly, over like 6-8 months. There's no reason for them to announce this cooperation 2 years in advance.
Well, when you think about it, from a marketing standpoint, it gets people to talk. So now they can Telltale put their ear to the ground and see what the rumblings say, what gamers are saying, and make changes as they go, as they're developing. Might be a good idea, actually. Rather than that, so they can shape the direction the game goes in. Instead of just coming up with something and then people look at it and say, well, we didn't want this.
Yeah. Marvel has had, bad games, quite frankly.
Yeah.
They don't have a Batman Arkham Knight that they can point to as, their proof of concept that they have a good video game franchise on their hands. So maybe this is the first one that they can, kind of really sink their teeth into.
The Ultimate Alliance games weren't the worst.
I liked them.
I did too.
But I think my fanboy bias is showing on that. If that was not a Marvel skin or even a DC skin, like if it was just generic fantasy characters or generic sci-fi characters,
it wouldn't have worked as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't have played that game. It was just to mash them up, beat them up. So, the franchises can do a lot. And unfortunately, and as much as I would like to think that I'm above it, I'm not. I'll play a mediocre game if it has Spider-Man on the cover.
I won't lie about that.
I try not to play a bad game if it has, a character I like on the cover. But I've definitely sunk some hours into some games that it was the license that brought me.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on this?
No.
Okay.
Well, I'll just wait and see.
We definitely will wait a few years. Elder Scrolls beta for Xbox One and PlayStation 4 started a couple days ago. It's invite only, and the game comes out this summer. Elder Scrolls, for me, I hate to be such a bandwagon naysayer, but everybody's just looking for this game to be free to play. And I don't even mean no subscription, I just mean legitimately free to play like DC Universe Online. And I don't know, unless there's a million beta invites floating out there, I don't know the point of a closed beta in this day and age.
No, well...
Like, I just, and you can definitely disagree with me, but I just feel like, almost every game comes out, we see with problems online, and I think the beta helps test that server load.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
So, by opening the beta up to everybody, you get to test maybe a sample size or maybe a real-world situation of how many people are going to be on at once.
Yeah, good point.
So I think they're losing that. And because this game has been on PC for, I want to say a year, it could be a little under, they already have people beta testing the gameplay and the balance and that side of the equation. So I don't really know, like maybe the controls, because the controller is different than the mouse and keyboard. So
maybe.
I don't know. Have you ever played a beta?
What type of game? Like this one? No.
No, just like any of the betas. I feel like they're becoming a little bit more popular lately.
Oh, no, not recently. Not this generation.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember looking at PC boards and people being like, hey, I got into this beta. All you have to do are these 12 crazy steps and sign up for this program, and then maybe you get chosen.
Yeah.
And now it's like, Battlefield Hardline beta, everybody go at it. Destiny beta, everybody go at it. Mortal Kombat beta, just sign up for it.
Actually, if you're really into looking for betas and things like that, it's a good idea with IGN. Sign up for the Prime. Sign up for Prime. Just stuff on there all the time.
I wrote. They definitely do have a lot. I wrote an article, which you can check out on IGN or NerdyXP, and just paraphrase. If you have any interest in the game, or even to an extent if you're not interested in the game, you should play every free beta that you can.
Yep.
because you can jump in, play for half an hour or an hour. You will have more exposure to the game, know more what people talk about, be able to reinforce your positive or negative opinions, and just be, more exposed to the industry.
Yep. Absolutely.
Of course, on the other side, if you don't really care about that, and I guess that's me trying to think of as being a generalist, then if you only like Madden and Call of Duty, then don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Last Friday, so right after we would have recorded, Star Wars Battlefront got announced. And more details are coming out. The game will be set in kind of looks like, post episode 4 era.
Okay.
No space combat, which everybody's freaking out about.
Okay.
But there, and I guess it makes sense. The game's called Star Wars. But there will still be aerial combat and just different characters. Looks like you can have foot soldiers. They threw Darth Vader in the reveal trailer, which kind of feels like huge fan pandering as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think of Battlefront?
I love Battlefront. I love that series. I really do. It's a guilty pleasure.
So, I don't know. For me, I never really got into Battlefront, but I think that this will be the one that does it. I have enough friends already freaking out, talking about how great it's going to be. And gameplay looks good. And, next-gen consoles, I don't have the huge back library that I did before. So I'll probably give this one a shot.
Yeah, that's the fun part about multiplayer. It's the fun part about it. Beating the crap out of one of your buddies. Oh, yeah. That's why I love the game so much.
All right, moving on to kind of Wii U news. Xenoblade Chronicles X says the entire map is available from the start. It's 5 times larger than the original Xenoblade Chronicles. They did say that just because you can get somewhere doesn't mean that you'll actually be able to move around. So, there'll still be a set order for completing the story or leveling up. I'm sure other games have done this, but for a large RPG environment, I can't think of any off the top of my head. Typically, they do a good job of gating you and ferrying you along, and you can't get here until you get the ship, which you get in this part of the story. Okay, now the world opens up a little bit, but you can't get to these sections until you get the airship, and just kind of mechanically gating you and help guide you. So, this could be an interesting way or a different approach. I'm sure speedrunners are going to love the crap out of this.
Yeah, it's actually not having more of a world you're not gated from. It's not a new concept. It's actually pretty old. But it's not something that's been getting a lot of use lately, in the last few generations. Because you go to the wrong place and you get wasted, immediately, because you're not strong enough.
Yeah, for me, I wonder, I think that the game's going to have to make sure that it stays on track to let you know where you're going.
Yeah.
Because I've had games I played, for 2-3 months. Maybe that's too long. But then I go away for a vacation for a week or two, or I get interested in something else, and then I go to pick it up. And then you pick up your save point, and, the whole world's open at that point, and I'm just like, ugh.
There you go, yeah.
Where am I supposed to go? And even if a character says, oh, go to this village, I'm like, I don't know what these villages are called. I don't have to stop and check every single one.
That's usually why a lot of games will come with a little journal that you can tap into to take a look at what you've already seen. A lot of RPGs have it.
Yeah.
Current JRPGs have it.
Maybe that's what the notes section was for in the guides back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Did you... I treated my guides, like not guides, but the instruction manuals, like they were art or a book. Like I didn't write in them.
No,
I didn't
I wouldn't
increase
either.
them.
No. Wouldn't touch them.
every now and then I would open them up and look at the pictures, but then I'd put them always right back in the
Yep.
case.
Yep. Wouldn't touch them. Yep. Once I learn how to play the game, man, I don't need you no more. I got instruction manuals that have never been opened. I just go online and say, okay, let me look at this. It won't touch them.
Now that's the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
Another thing that came out of Xenoblade Chronicles X that fans will like is the game is coming out this year to the US for localization. They haven't given a date yet. But, I mean, if the game comes out in Japan, 8 months is a reasonable time that it should be making it to US store shelves.
I'm not in a hurry to get it myself, personally. It'll probably be something I like, but it's not something I can make a firm commitment to playing anytime soon, so I can wait.
Yeah, to be honest, Xenoblade Chronicles looks right up my alley. It looks like a great game. Everybody I know it loves it. A lot of fan fervor. I just don't have time for another console in my life right now.
Exactly, that's the problem.
And I love Nintendo. I think they are the best software developers in the business right now. But they are not the best hardware developer. And because they don't have third-party support, I don't love Nintendo more than I love everybody else combined. So that's why I have a PlayStation 4. That's why I'm more into that ecosystem than I am Nintendo. But, I still try and keep my eye out and see what's going on. Another thing that came out of Nintendo is director of Smash Brothers for Wii U and 3DS, Sakurai, says that DLC has become quite the epidemic, that companies are basically relying on their hungry player base to fund the games that are sometimes coming out half finished and asking them to kind of bankroll and kind of create more content. And then in the same article, he does go on to say, but not my game. My game was made completed beginning to end, and then the DLC that we release is special and unique and after the fact.
Typical Nintendo. He's right, though, but typical Nintendo.
I just, I don't understand the reasoning behind this statement. Even if what he says is true, and even if you can make the argument that, Smash Bros. All new characters are brand new, made after the game, and they gave you a full game, which they did. I mean, there's like 52 characters in that roster. The fact that he's saying this at the same week that his DLC is releasing is just bad PR and is asinine and just so ridiculous. And I'm not saying the industry has to hold hands and get along with each other, but I do think that I don't shit on my peers and say that they're doing a bad job to other people. So I think it's kind of quite frankly a dick move of him to say that other people are predatory.
Nintendo, just like I said, throughout the different generations, they've had a bad habit of saying we do this and see what the other people are doing. That's bad. We do it better. They've always done that. They've done it back in the days with the Sega Master System, the Genesis, the PlayStation, the Xbox. They've done it all the time. And that same attitude is the reason people believe that Nintendo was responsible for the rating system. When they attacked Sega for Mortal Monday with Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, and Night Trap and all those things. See, we don't make games like that. We make wholesome family games. Look at all that stuff. It's trash. And not long after that is when they had the hearings to start the game ratings and whatnot. So people assume Nintendo was responsible. They just had bad timing.
Yeah, and I mean, Nintendo definitely benefited from that viewpoint as, kind of being the family champion.
Mm-hmm.
And they've maintained that image going forward. And I know the ESRB was self-regulating by the games industry, but I feel like it's really gotten away from them.
Yeah.
And reading the descriptions is always kind of funny and meaningless at this point. And even just some of the games that come out, the difference between like a M or a T, or I can't remember if we talked about it, but like this Batman Arkham Knight coming out, with the higher rating. Like, I doubt they really did anything that much more drastic to deserve it.
Probably a few curse words, a little bit of blood.
Yeah. But going back to Nintendo, I don't know. Like, you're spot on. Like, Nintendo has a swagger about them. They think they're untouchable. They think that they know best. And I know that they do. Like I said, they do make great games. But I mean, quite frankly, the Super Nintendo was the last great herald. Everybody loved it.
Yep.
Consumers and developers loved it.
Yep.
Console that they made, they've been on the fringes ever since then.
Yep.
And they act like they're at the center still, which, I mean, they've lost, and I don't think they'll ever really get back. But that's
hubris. It's hubris.
I mean, that's, yeah. I mean, and we saw it. We saw it with PlayStation, Sony, when they released the PlayStation 3. And then we saw the flip with Microsoft when they released the Xbox One. Just too much confidence in themselves and in their diehard fan base.
I think that's the problem. They're a company that's used to doing things, and when nobody ever questions them, and then they have a fan base that largely won't question what they do either. Will always stick up for them. Won't call them out on their crap, basically.
Yeah, I do think that there are people who do, but Nintendo does have a large following that is always going to accept them for what they do.
Yep.
That they've built so much goodwill.
Yep.
And at one point I do kind of like, why, but on the other hand I'm like, man, if I could have that, I would love it too. So I don't blame them for throwing their weight around. For PC news, another company that's kind of changing things up is Valve and Steam, who are quite frankly synonymous with PC gaming. They're dipping their toes into a new program that's going to allow modders to charge for content. Previously, pretty much all mods were free if you bought it through Steam or downloaded it through different sites. But now with Skyrim, they're going to allow people to start charging. The modders set the price themselves, and if you buy it and you're unhappy with it, you have 24 hours to return it and get a full money refund. And they've highlighted some mods that they think are worth it and packaged them together in kind of a starter pack for like $28, which is a lot in Steam money. Like when you're buying 12 games for $10 in a humble bundle. What are your thoughts on this?
Personally, I got mixed feelings. On one hand, I like the idea that somebody creative can come up with a modification for certain games and put it out there and get rewarded for your hard work. I don't have a problem with that. It's just making sure that nobody gets scammed and it's regulated a little better. I haven't heard enough about it.
Yeah, I mean, this is brand new. I think that you bring up a good point that we will see some horror stories. But I think that's what you got to do about making sure that you play those first 24 hours. And the Steam community does a decent job, I feel, of cultivating content and self-policing. I personally, off the top of my head, love this idea. Capitalism and full work. Some of these modders spend hours, if not days, creating this content. They can still give it away for free if they choose to. They can also get reimbursed at or paid a small fee. They can only charge $1 if they want to, or something larger. I mean, some of these mods are considered must-haves for some of these games and have been downloaded millions of times, like graphic packs and updated fixtures or just different content. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like they should be rewarded for this work. I mean, Team Fortress hats became a business, and I know it's a cosmetic, but I mean, that's kind of a form of mod. and the community jumped on board on that, and everybody loves that. So,
Well, we'll just have to see, I guess.
yeah, maybe we'll see similar support, or maybe we'll see an outcry. I don't know anybody personally, but I feel like I've heard stories of people who did start in the modding community and then flipped over to the developer side.
That's another reason why, like I said, I have mixed feelings. It's something that they should be able to do, get rewarded for it, and encourages more people to give it a shot and try it out, and do things.
Right. Like I said at the top of the show, this is a slighter, leaner, easier, quicker week for news. So what have you been playing this week, Brooks?
Honestly, nothing. It's been another one of those weeks where I've had a dry spell.
It definitely happens. I've been playing Shovel Knight. Like I said, I don't own a Wii U or 3DS, so I picked it up on the PlayStation Network. Yacht Club Games actually gave me a review code. I hope to finish it this weekend and get a review out by Sunday. I had a friend and people online talked about Shovel Knight, and I saw it, and I was like, yeah, that game looks really good. You're right. Holy shit. That game is amazing. It is a love letter to the classic Mega Man, Castlevania, 8-bit era of gameplay without necessarily being completely tied down and beholden to it. I feel like there's still, better graphics, better particle effects. Yeah, for the most part, it feels like animation's still fluid. So I wouldn't imagine that it'd be able to run on a Nintendo or a Super NES. But it feels very much in the vein of those games. Beautiful graphics, great soundtrack, great gameplay. Even there was a part that I was getting really frustrated at that I died 3-4 times, which maybe I just suck at video games. But I was able to get through. There's no life system, so even when it's hard, you just go back to a checkpoint. So instead of having to redo the entire level like you would in a classic Mega Man game, you still can just beat your head up against the wall until you break through that one 2, 3, 5 minute section. So that helps the difficulty curve, I think. Just all around great game. So far, I don't have anything negative to say about it. I've beaten about 4 of the bosses, so we'll see how that finishes out. Seeing as we have, I guess, a little bit of extra time, what games are you looking forward to most that are coming out this year still?
I haven't really thought about it. I'm not gonna lie to you, I haven't really thought about it. Because I don't own any of the new systems, so I've been trying to, get my freeloading time in with some of my friends.
Definitely fair. For me, stuff that is still coming out, obviously, I'm looking more forward to spring 2016 after all the delays. For me, Batman Arkham Knight. I loved that trilogy. I didn't like Origins, which I know, is a very popular opinion to be bashed on that game. It just didn't feel right. It felt like it was trying too hard, if that makes any sense.
Oh, it makes sense.
I'm still kind of worried, still cautiously optimistic. Every time Rocksteady emphasizes the Batmobile again, I'm like, oh. But, still highly hopeful for that. I'm loving Shovel Knight, another game that I hope we hear about more soon. It was originally supposed to have a spring 2015 release date, but that hasn't been updated yet. Is Mighty Number 9 from KJ Inafune, Mega Man creator.
I've heard a lot of news on that one.
So, if that's something you're interested in, that's coming to all consoles, so that you'd be able to pick that up on last gen as well.
Okay.
That game looks like a copyright infringement. Mighty Number 9's a blue robot that fights 8 other robots and acquires their powers and defeats a boss who's in charge of all of them at the end. I'm surprised Capcom let him get away with it.
Well, as long as they don't call it Mega Man and Yeah, they can't say much. I doubt it. I doubt it would hold up if they try to take him to court. It might be a tough case to win unless they use like the similar names and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, they've done a good job rebranding and renaming the world. So as far as that, if that's all that it takes to get away from it, they'll be in good shape.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I guess Persona 5, if that's still on track to make it for a 2015 release, which I am doubtful. I know they showed one gameplay trailer and one kind of cinematic trailer, and everybody's really excited and looking forward to that game. But I have no expectations that that's actually going to be a 2015 release anymore. So that's about it. If you don't have any consoles right now, next-gen consoles, what is your tipping point? Is it a game for you? Is it a price point? Is it just, when the feeling feels right?
No, I'm waiting to make sure that all the bugs have been worked out, or if they come out with a newer version of the console, things of that sort. I usually wait at least a year or a year and a half, or maybe two, before I even buy a new console. Yeah. There's not a lot of games that I'm so amped to play right now that I'm willing to go out and risk buying a new system.
That is definitely a fair sentiment. I got an Xbox 360, I don't know, 2 years after the console life. I started playing it. And then I honestly only bought a PlayStation 3 like 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe 3 years ago now. And because I had that huge backlog of games to just chew through,
mm-hmm.
I only played great games. Like, I wasn't sitting around waiting month to month for the next game to come out. I look back on the PS3 library more fondly than I do the 360.
Yeah. No, that's another problem I got. I got a backlog from hell. I got games that haven't even been taken out of the shrink wrap.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I feel like we reached a point where, there was a time when I felt like when I was a kid, where you could watch every show that came on television. Mm-hmm. You could play every Nintendo game of merit. I know there's more Nintendo. I know there was a crap ton of Nintendo games, but the ones that actually mattered.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that anymore.
Mm-mm.
Like, they could stop making video games from now to the end of time, and just the stuff that currently exists, you couldn't play all of the good games. Like, you can probably play all the great, amazing 10 out of 10 games, but the games that people still are considered good, there's just so much out there.
Yep.
So no, I mean, like, you could probably squeak by with PS3 for the rest of your life if you wanted to.
No, another problem is that, I just don't have time, and if it's something really new, I'm not really sure if I want to start it or not. Do I want to try this? And a lot of times, somebody else will come over, and they'll play some of my games, and I'm looking like, damn, what game is that? Damn, that looks like fun. This is one of yours. I'm really? Check this out. And the next thing you know, I'm playing it.
Yeah, I think, time has become the new premium.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those cruel jokes of society that when you're a kid, you're beholden on your parents to buy you games, but you have all the free time in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're an adult, if you can make a decent living and buy yourself most every now and then what you want that comes out, as long as you don't need 10 games a week. But then you don't have time for it because you're working or have hobbies and friends and.
Yeah.
So. Alright, well, thank you, Brooks. Thank you out there for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this week's episode. If you guys liked what you heard, please like this video if you're on YouTube, or leave a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening. If you want to hear more from us, I'm Chris Peterson, and I can be found at NerdEXP on Twitter, YouTube, or the MyIGN boards. If you want to hear more from Brooks, he is a military veteran gamer on IGN. And then, what's your Twitter? My
Twitter is @NavyMVG.
Alright. Well, I appreciate your guys' time, and I hope that you enjoyed this week, and that we were helping you with your gaming IQ. Level up, friends.